Russian President Vladimir Putin addressed his military today after the weekend rebellion by the Wagner Group.
The Russian president called the mercenary forces that made their way towards Moscow traitors and commended his troops for their response to the aggression. Putin has granted amnesty to Wagner's leader, who is now in neighboring Belarus. Retired U.S. Army Lieutenant Colonel Alexander Vidman says Putin's leniency is sending a greater message about his power within the Kremlin.
Prigozhin's still not in custody. So where does that leave Vladimir Putin? It looks like he's weak. He's weaker than he was certainly before these events unfolded. And I think this is going to start to chip away at his support and the perception that he's immune to attack. He's immune to kind of any kinds of criticism. I think this has accelerated his undoing.
Now, the president of Belarus says he is looking forward to a new alliance with the Wagner Group. BBC News correspondent Mayeni Jones joins us now from Kyiv. Okay, Mayeni, first of all, do we see now Wagner just completely joining Belarus, sitting idly perhaps because they're not, involved in any of these aggressions? What can we expect will happen now? And is Putin as weak as ever, as we just heard?
The face of the Wagner Group really isn't clear at the moment. President Putin, in his address today, reiterated a statement that he'd made before, which is that they were free to be absorbed into the Russian army, or they could join the founder of the Wagner Group, Yevgeny Prigozhin, in Belarus. Now, the Belarusian government has said that it will accommodate them if they want to join. There's been speculation that he might try and absorb them into the Belarusian army. That hasn't necessarily been confirmed, but its fate is very much up in the air. I think it's worth pointing out, though, that Wagner is incredibly useful to the Russian authorities. They've used Wagner operatives in many of the allied countries, particularly in Africa, where they've helped with security issues and maintaining some of President Putin's closest ally, keeping them in power. So I think the Kremlin will be very keen to keep Wagner under its control.
And Mayeni, President Biden and Russian President Vladimir Putin have differing opinions about the situation. How are people in Ukraine reacting to it?
I think people in Ukraine, much like President Biden and NATO allies, see what happened in Russia over the weekend, this attempted mutiny, as real evidence that President Putin isn't as much in control as they thought he was. And I think that's been a surprise for many, but it's definitely been a pleasant surprise for the Ukrainian forces. Over the weekend, President Zelensky, the Ukrainian president, kept saying he was in touch with President Biden, that they'd spoken on the phone, that NATO needed to ally behind Ukraine because Ukraine was the first force of defense against Russia, which is a nuclear power, and he said a destabilized Russia could be incredibly dangerous for the world. And in response to that, you've seen NATO members come forward and announce more aid for Ukraine. Australia announced further aid yesterday. We're here in the US will announce further aid for Ukraine. And I think all of this is to send the message that at a time when Russia looks unstable, looks weaker, NATO is rallying around Ukraine, particularly because of this ongoing counteroffensive it has in the east and the south, where Ukrainian troops are trying to regain territory from Russia. NATO allies sending more aid to Ukraine to make sure that they're successful in doing them.
Okay, so, the latest that we've heard is that Wagner Group leader Yevgeny Prigozhin is in Belarus. With Wagner there, is the West in danger?
I think at the moment it will be interesting to see over the next couple of days whether Mr. Prigozhin makes any statements about what he intends to do now he's there. I think he will want to show that he still has the support of his men. Mr. Prigozhin is a former convict himself, and one of his strategies with Wagner's has been to hire former convicts from Russia to absorb them into his Wagner forces in promise for their freedom after they complete 6 months of service. So a lot of these men are very loyal to him, and they might decide to stick with him to come to Belarus and help him out. And that could create all sorts of problems for the region, to have this independent military army somewhere between Ukraine and Russia. So interesting day ahead, I think.
Mayeni Jones, thank you.